Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Cyrus Pattinson returned. He's a 30-year-old southpaw from the northeast. He came in with a 6-1 record with 4 KOs, but he returned following a defeat to Conor Walker, who's a tough old pro, much more experienced despite being a year younger than Cyrus. Walker got the better of Cyrus. Cyrus was down 3 times in their fight, 3rd, 5th and 6th rounds. He was also cut. And I think his corner pulled him out after 8 rounds. I remember that fight. That happened last year. I want to say September time, August, September, sometime like that. So he had some time out to regroup, but he is 30 now, even though he's not that experienced a pro. But he came back in a 6th rounder against a guy called Andrei Antonov from Estonia. I love the Baltic states. I just love them. I love going there. I've said that so many times. But they're not renowned for being boxing hotbeds. Maurice Bradis was from Latvia, probably the most famous boxer from Latvia, ever the most successful. This lad, Antonov, 27 years of age, I think he's actually, I did read on BoxRec, he's Russian, but lives in Estonia. He was born there, or he's got Russian parents. There's some sort of Russian connection. But he came in with 4 wins, 1 KO, 3 defeats, all on points and 2 draws. And he's one of those guys you can see he comes from, you can see his schooling hasn't been great, fistically great. Do you know what I mean? Because he's got a very upright stance, moves an awful lot, lots of skipping here and there and everywhere, but throws a lot of punches. I mean, it's almost like he thinks, I'm going to box on the back foot. And it's all lots and lots of arm punches, orthodox fighter, but a tough kid who does throw punches and really has a go, in a very sort of uneducated way, but nothing, there's nothing subtle about him. There's nothing refined about him, let's say, but a tough guy. And I think he gave Pattinson more problems than Pattinson was expected, because Cyrus couldn't get his engine going for the first couple of rounds. He clearly had the better, more skilled demeanour about his work, heavier hands, but couldn't find his rhythm. And I think this is because this guy, Antonov, was, moving constantly and not allowing him to set himself and doing very well. And towards the end of a couple of the rounds, Antonov was really letting his hands go, really getting stuck in. No power, because he doesn't have the technique. He's just lacking in technique, Antonov, even though you can see there's some semblance of talent there that hasn't been properly brought along. And he is 27 now. But Pattinson ended up winning this fight 60-55. I had it 58-56. I gave Antonov 2 rounds. I thought maybe the referee was a little bit too kind to Cyrus, although there were close. There were close rounds in it. But the question is, can Pattinson go further? Well, again, I repeat, he's 30 years of age, so he's got to get his skates on in that sense. This was at 154, I think. Previously he was a welterweight. He did score a very good win over Chris Jenkins actually in 2023. Prior to losing to Conor Walker, he stopped Chris in 9 rounds, and I think the towel came in. But Jenkins there was a lot of wear and tear on Jenkins. But it's a good win anyway for a guy that was only his 5th fight or something like that. So they were trying to fast track him. Then he hit that bump in the road with Walker. Now he's got the win over Antonov. That's a good 6 rounds to get under your belt after having a year, maybe more, maybe 13, 14 months off. But he's going to have to step up pretty quick. I would take him up to, if I was looking after him, I mean, he had some sort of IBO continental thing at one point after only a few fights, but I would go down the area English, British route. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, if he wants to make any money, he's going to have to make some quantum leaps. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I would go down the traditional route if they can get the fights. English title, then maybe make a run for the British, or okay, so you can pick up maybe a WBO or an IBF European belt or something and get you a ranking, and then you can maybe even get a world title shot, which you're probably going to lose because you don't have the experience, or he needs rounds, and that's why this 6 rounds against Antonov was good after such a long layoff. But I think a couple of 10-rounders at least is what he needs. He ain't a bad fighter. He's a southpaw. He does have some good technique. Like I say, he's got 4 KOs. Decent height, I think. He's probably 5'9", maybe. Roughly 5'8", 5'9". So, there's some stuff there. I just wish he was a bit younger. If we were talking about a 25-year-old, I'd say there's no rush. And as I say, I don't think there's a rush really anyway, because you've got to find your ceiling. Not everyone can be a world champ, not everyone can be world class. But if they can get him area, English, British title, then we'll get a better idea of just how much talent he's got. And then he can maybe, in a couple of years' time, it'll suddenly be 32. That's not old in this day and age, not if you live the life. Then maybe he can start stepping things up. But for a guy with, 8 fights, stopped in his only defeat 2 fights ago, I wouldn't rush him too quickly. I really wouldn't. And Antonov was putting it on him, in a few of those rounds, especially towards the end of the round. And Pattinson seemed to be handling it quite well. It wasn't so much that he looked gun shy from his defeat; it's that he couldn't quite get his engine going early on. But the opponent prevented that. You have to give Antonov some credit for that. Even if you look at the Conor Walker defeat, that was only his, his 7th fight, something like that, 7th fight. He did show a bit. He showed courage. He showed some good moves in that, even though Walker was a bit too savvy for him. And the Jenkins fight, I know Chris was towards the end of his career, but he showed a lot in there as well. So there's something to work with. But yeah, Cyrus Pattinson, how far can he go? I think it remains to be seen. I like the guy though. I like watching him. He's an entertaining fighter. So did you see this fight? This was on Channel 5. Same bill as this was up in Newcastle, which is where Cyrus is from. It was the Harlem Eubank against the Frenchman. Not a bad card for a Friday night. But let me know what you think if you saw this fight. Let me know how far you think Pattinson can go. What's his ceiling? What's his level? What have you seen so far in him that makes you think he can or can't go up to whatever level? Let me know. Leave your comments below. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, as always. So please subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the like button, because it's free, it costs you nothing, and you're helping out the channel. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I always appreciate your time, and bye for now.